You were young and your heart.
We're the Vinyl Verdict. I'm Jacob.
I'm Michael.
And today we're going to talk about one of the more famous Paul McCartney and Wings singles, Live and Let Die with I Lie Around. It was released in June of 1973 and is really known for being the first rock song ever used in a Bond movie.
It was given to them, they thought it was the demo. And of course Paul said, no, that's it. And they went with it. It worked. It definitely became, as you said, the real transition in a way to being accepted more for Wings in a more popular sense.
It was recorded at the end of the Red Rose Speedway sessions. This is the first time Paul worked with George Martin again after the Beatles, so that was, and he only, he did that tastefully in his solo career during certain points, but you can really see the benefits because this is totally driven by the orchestra. There's some very interesting choices here in like the reggae middle there and everything that still show very sophisticated songwriter. This is not like basic stuff, I would say. Some of the chords that he's playing on the piano and everything even here, they're obviously, like you said, they're kind of muted by the orchestra, but if you go back to his demo and everything, they're like pretty weird, augmented, diminished chords that he's doing in that breakdown.
Kind of a Beatlesque chord changes, and just when I was young and my heart wasn't open, it starts so differently. And then when it takes off, it really takes off, and it's a whole nother song.
Oh, the way he connects those two parts, I think it's done so well. The way he screams that high C, and he's continued in every live performance, no matter how old he gets, he does still nail that note, which is incredibly impressive. And
To give me all the melody. You got to give me all the melody. You got to give me all the melody. You got to give me all the melody.
really a nice climactic vocal finish before the whole orchestra, the real Bond part comes in. Do you remember thinking, are they going in this, like is this just a one-off at the time, which it ended up being, or did you think maybe
it was
the
a
next
bigger
album?
sound? This almost isn't a class by itself because it was for a movie, and they had nothing really like it to predate this. A lot of it was George Martin's orchestration and the movie effect, but as I said, his melody was real strong, and the record was real successful.
Did you think though, like, oh, this is Abbey Road on steroids, the next album's going to have George Martin producing? And like, was that, because it does seem like this is a moment where you get a little bit of a mini Beatles reunion and them working together.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. It was the orchestration gave it a different sound, and it just elevated him from songs about being in the country and covers of Lucille and stuff with the early Wings to something more big that was coming back to a level of accomplishment that he was rising back towards.
All right, and then the B-side is I Lie Around, considered during the Red Rose Speedway sessions for that double album, but wasn't fully used. It's interesting, it's written by Paul and Linda, get the credit, but Denny sings the first two verses, and it's really kind of his song. It's one of his, the songs that you really identify with Denny from Wings.
I figured out that Denny was singing a number of the verses, and then Paul comes in on the closer, high octave, more in the country, and just kills it, and that's Paul. So there's a pretty huge difference when he starts singing towards the end. It was always kind of a special song, not something that seemed to make sense on the flip side of Live and Let Die, but it was. And from the beginning sounds of them in the country, almost a wildlife type thing where they're just out talking to each other. And the way the bass line slowly starts and the song comes in.
This is him trying to make it more of a band. So, I mean, when you think about it also, this was recorded in end of 1970. So it was kind of recorded during RAM. It didn't make it on there. It sat around. Maybe that was a backing track, but it was written then. So it was written before there was a Wings. And then it was overdubbed during Red Rose Speedway, which to me is maybe one of the deficiencies of it. It feels a little too overdubbed. It goes on a little too long, like the minute at the end there, and a little of the guitar work feels excessive for like the type of song that this is. The melody and everything is more that simple heart of the country kind of, and that's what's so satisfying about it. The strengths of some of the overdubbing is the fact that, yeah, now that it's Wings, Denny can sing that part. It feels more like a band. Linda can do the harmonies, and I like that rather than in other songs where Paul sings the low octave and then Paul sings the high octave, he's giving the low octave to Denny, which makes it a little more like well-rounded and more of a band feel to the whole song. And I like that intro you talked about too, which is like the audio equivalent of panning and zooming into the first scene of a movie or something,
Yes,
where you're
yes.
like, they're far away and they get closer, and then it's very intimate acoustic sounding song.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect B-side. There's not much
I
else
guess
to
so.
say. It would never be on a hit, greatest hits or anything like it, but it's another part of Wings. But putting these two together, there's a lot of songs that people will go back and say, oh, this sounds like it. Let Me Roll was a little bit of John influence, or this George. This is a very interesting single where both sides of it are McCartney through and through. Like, this says everything about McCartney, that he would write these two songs and put them out on a single. So this was a big one, and it has to be in any Wings collection.